morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, January 11th, 2024 County Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Markworth?
Here.
Commissioner Matherly?
Here.
Commissioner Burrell?
Here.
We can have the invocation. Holy Spirit, I pray that you're with us today. Guide us through this meeting and guide our country. We're facing a lot of hard times right now with our border being wide open and with the influx of people that are coming in, and we're trying to accommodate them with our schools, our churches, our nonprofits. I pray for all of our law enforcement in these tough days. I pray especially these days for our Border Patrol agents. Pray that you'll surround them with your angels and keep them safe. Please bless our meeting today. Let us make good decisions for our county and for our citizens. We pray this in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
Okay, and we've got a proclamation I'm going to read real quick. I don't know how real quick it is, but I'm going to read it. Okay, January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas cervical cancer is a preventable and treatable disease that continues to affect the lives of countless individuals and families worldwide, and whereas cervical cancer is often referred to as a silent killer because symptoms may not present themselves until the disease has progressed to advanced stages. And whereas understanding one's family medical history can provide valuable insights into potential risks for cervical cancer, allowing for proactive measures to be taken, and whereas regular screenings such as Pap test and HPV test are effective tools in early detection and prevention of cervical cancer. And whereas meeting with the healthcare professionals to discuss individual health, risk, and preventative measures is crucial in the fight against cervical cancer. And whereas recognizing warning signs and symptoms such as abdominal bleeding, pelvic pain, and discomfort can prompt timely medical attention and improve outcomes. And whereas raising awareness about cervical cancer empowers our community to take proactive steps toward prevention, early detection, and support for those affected by the disease. And whereas Otero County Commissioners commit to supporting initiatives and events that promote cervical cancer awareness and education within the community. And whereas Otero County Commissioners encourage all residents to know their family medical history, meet with their healthcare professionals for regular checkups, and be vigilant in recognizing warning signs of cervical cancer. And whereas a copy of this proclamation be transmitted to local healthcare providers, community organizations, and media outlets to ensure widespread awareness and dissemination of information regarding cervical cancer prevention. Now therefore, that the Otero County Commissioners officially declare January as Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, and hereby express our commitment to raising awareness about cervical cancer prevention, early detection, and support for those affected, and proclaim during the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners this 11th day of January 2024. All right. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're going to move on to our Sheriff's Office report.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
David Black, Otero County Sheriff. I'm going to kind of buzz through this one because I kind of got two reports I'm going to give you here. For December, we had 2,492 calls for service, 238 investigative reports, 67 traffic crash investigations, 57 arrests, 1 warrant was issued, 169 traffic citations, and 424 subpoenas were served for the courts. For the completion of 2023, for the whole year, we had 35,380 calls for service, 3,007 reports, 766 crash investigations, 789 arrests, 50 warrants or summonses were served, 2,029 citations, And we just started kind of keeping track of the paper service for the past 4 months. We got just shy of 1,400 subpoenas or writs served for a 4-month period. Narcotics, we had 2 search warrants, 5 arrests, 1 agency assist. We had 18 case reports, 1 checkpoint case, 2 vehicles seized, 1,549 grams of meth was seized, 3.3 grams of cocaine, 31 fentanyl pills, total of about a little over $2,000 worth of illegal narcotics seized. For the year, we had 44 search warrants, 63 arrests, 19 agency assists, 299 case reports, 10 checkpoint cases, $306,000 in cash seized, 31 vehicles seized, 41 firearms seized, 45 fugitives arrested, 1 overdose investigation, 13 jail possession cases, 13,727 grams of meth, 66.2 grams of marijuana, 3,233 illegal prescription pills, 50,485 fentanyl pills were seized, total of about $2.5 million worth of illegal narcotics seized. Our special events for December, we had a DARE graduation at La Luz Elementary. We had the Shop with a Cop event at Walmart, and that was pretty cool. We increased it to 112 kids this year, and that was a lot of fun. We had a good time with that. And then we also did the Christmas parade on the same day. For the year, a total of 38 public relations events. In our training, in January, we just started our new training cycle, 2024-2025 training cycle, so that's just beginning. In our Manning, Deputy Graves, he completed his law enforcement academy. He has now started the FTO program. I got Deputies Angiano, Hinojos, Lundquist, Guzman, and Jimenez. They've all started their pre-academy training. They're currently in that right now. They're enjoying running every morning in this lovely weather out right now. We're getting ready for the next academy. It starts February 4th, and hopefully we'll have all 4 of those headed to the academy. I did have 6 lateral transfers undergoing the background investigation. We have hired 3 of them. They are currently in their respective FTO programs. I have 4 others in the background phase, waiting on psych evals to be completed and a little bit of paperwork. So hopefully by the end of this month, I will have all spots filled. We'll be fully staffed at 59 deputies. With our vehicles, we have recently put 3 new vehicles in rotation. I've got more being upfitted. Hope to have those in rotation here pretty quick. And again, with this year's capital outlay money, I was able to secure 5 more Tahoes. So we've got 9 total in the upfitting process right now. So that is it. Stand for questions.
Had a busy year.
Yes, it was a very busy year.
David, that Shop with the Cop deal, is that just Otero or is that all law enforcement combined?
No, we had almost all 13 agencies within the county have a representative there, and
Oh, good.
yeah, I think we had right close to 50 law enforcement officers there representing almost every agency. So, yeah, they all came out, volunteered their time, and
Perfect.
it was a cool deal.
The other day I called you on a matter in Chaparral. Did you find out anything on that?
I did. I spoke with Michelle Alatorre, and we've done some looking, some measuring. So basically, the distance between those 2 buildings is 182 feet. So we're well out of compliance. It should be 300 feet. She advised me that she would be looking into it. She would give me a call back, but I haven't got a call back from her just yet. One thing I did learn from her also, I know at one point we had talked, they had 1 compliance officer in the state of New Mexico. They now have 15. So things are hopefully progressing a little quicker. I did go online and fill out a complaint on this so that it's documented with her. I'm just waiting on a response back from her now, so.
All right, appreciate it. Let me know whenever you find out.
I will.
Thank you.
I will.
Yeah, Representative Townsend wants to be in the loop on that too.
Okay.
Okay. I wanted to ask you to please give us an update on Deputy Rodriguez. We have some good news.
Yeah, actually, Deputy Rodriguez came home yesterday. He was released from the hospital. He's at home. He's still got a long road to go. There's a lot of recovery and, physical therapy and stuff like that. But he's doing well. We all kind of met up with him at his house and helped him get into his house. He needed a ramp and stuff, so we took care of all that. Got him a ramp, make sure he can get in and out. But yeah, he surprisingly he looked really good. He had good spirits. So we're going to help him with his physical therapy and everything else. He says he'll be back to work in 2 weeks. I don't I don't see that happening, but we're going to help him get back as soon as he can. So.
I heard a really startling statistic a couple of days ago. They said that right now 22 people between the ages of 14 and 18 in the United States are dying of fentanyl poisoning. So, I mean, that's 1,144 young people a year that are dying from this poison. And it's not even overdosing, it's poisoning.
Right.
So we've got a huge issue with this. And I appreciate the effort of getting those thousands of pills off the street that your office has done. So I appreciate that.
I can't go into a whole lot of detail, but we've ramped up our efforts there. I'll kind of leave it at that. But and we are going to any of these overdoses. I've got a team that'll go to that. Again, we've already charged 3 people with homicide for providing this stuff that kills somebody. We have to do that through the federal agents in Las Cruces. We can't do it through the state. But we're working on it. We understand there's a huge problem. It really is. So I've got 2 more bodies we'll put that way and keep pushing on.
Well, I think Albuquerque finally realized they have a problem because that's all it's been all over the news this week is the fentanyl pills, and they're so surprised at the amount of them. And it's like, we should have opened our eyes years ago.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question about code enforcement.
Okay.
Code enforcement used to be under the sheriff's office.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I remember that Sheriff House didn't want it under the sheriff's office anymore, I think. That's what I remember. And then it's why it made its own department or got moved under emergency services. What would it look like to put it back under you?
Wouldn't be a big problem, really. I think we just have to sit down and discuss it. Yeah, it wouldn't be a problem. I don't know. I wasn't here when it all transpired and why it went away, but I think it would probably be easier through us. But yeah, I think there's just some logistics we would have to sit down and talk about.
Okay.
Because we have a lot invested in the code enforcement guys we have now, so this would be very, I don't know, kind of thin ice deal because we've got a lot of money invested in them. So anything that you do or we talk about on this needs to incorporate the money that we have invested in these people somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, in my perfect vision, I see just not losing any employees, but moving those employees or, and if they qualify for you and all that, and just not actually putting the burden on more of the deputies. So, but that's just me
Right,
thinking logistics and just thinking, I want to get it done. And it just seems like you're the one to get it done.
Yeah.
So,
Let's sit down and talk about it. I have
Okay.
no problem with it.
okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to ask RB real quick. Did my understanding you spoke with Michelle also on the Chaparral deal, and I just wondered if you had learned anything different than.
I had not. I did. I sent her an email. I did Google Earth recon and did measurements using that, and with those measurements, even if you measured it from the center of each building, it was under 300 feet. So she was supposed to check it out. The state statute that addresses churches is related to signage and advertising. The other section of the statute that is related to public ingestion, or like a cannabis bar, for lack of words, only references schools and daycares. So right now, what they appear to be in violation of is advertising. They have signage saying that they're a store, so I don't know how they can operate without that. But in talking to the compliance officer, she said it's possible that they were granted a waiver or something like that at the state level when they applied, because I feel like that's something that should have been investigated, but maybe it got overlooked. But they are looking into it and will get back to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think John Warney's here, the dispatch. Are you filling in for John Warney?
No. Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Clark, Emergency Services.
Good morning.
For the month of December, we responded to 212 emergencies. 179 of them were EMS. 12 fires, 6 of those were structure fires. Our code enforcement, we addressed 3 solid waste, 3 illegal dumpings, and about 15 open burns. We responded to 6 fires, 5 EMS calls out of the office. We completed 2 cannabis facility inspections and 13 commercial structures. We have 44 total open cases, 29 follow-ups, and 42 closed cases. Roads, we still have no improvement. We're awaiting everything for 15 First Street down there in Bowles to send them to court. We're just about ready to start that process. I have no updates on Quail Trail. We've had some improvement on North Florida. The guys are continuing to work with that property owner to clean it up.
It's looking better. I drive by it every day.
Slow process with him, but he seems to be starting to get on board, which is good. Some improvements out on 28 Critter. Could be better, but they're, again, working with the property owner. We're going to try and get a dumpster into the Dunnigan area to do a community cleanup to help on Otero area. I have no updates on Minix. We did go out. Every time we get a phone call, we do go out, we look at the property. We are just not catching him doing anything. We know he's doing something, we just can't catch him.
So that's the same guy that tore down this building over here, right?
Yes.
So where did he haul that material? Because that was, I think there was some asbestos and abatement in there.
Didn't the guys do a test of the material there, or they requested info from the city to find out if there was a verification if it was had asbestos or hazardous, right?
We did ask, and Jacob, that was something between Jacob and the city, so I don't know how that one hit yet.
So I've been in contact with the city every time that we see Minix out here working. The one that he did right behind the Flickinger, we know that he had his CID permits. We can't find anything that there was asbestos testing done on it. With it being in the city and me not having anything in the county to do with it, it's kind of hard for me to get that information. Put a call into Tobias Martin with CID, I haven't heard anything back from him. We do know that he just tore down the whole administration building on Indiana. That one we're pretty sure has asbestos in it as well. He had his CID permit with it. We don't have an asbestos testing sheet with it, so we don't know if he even got it tested. Again, I can't prove that he's taking it out to the county, so there's very little that I can really get involved with. I'm working with the city to try to get them to see what they can find out for us. Every time we've been out there, the Van Winkles call us constantly. We run out there as soon as they call us. We're not catching him. The most we can see that he's buried so far is some concrete, which I've been in contact with the EPA. They've actually allowed him to use the concrete for clean fill. They've approved everything for it, so there's not much that I can do on that side of it. So I keep going out there every other day trying to catch him dumping. I don't know if he's doing it at night now. I don't know. But I know he's tearing the stuff down. I have no idea where he's taking it.
Was that a city building or a school building?
It used to be the administration building, but it was bought by a citizen. So it was a residential property is what they turned it over to.
Ah,
So from what I can understand, the city was going to condemn the building. So they got a hold of the property owner and said, either you tear it down or we do. So he contracted Minix to come and tear it down.
okay.
Well, Jacob, there's a hotline you can call the state and find out on all the permits. When they do demo work like what they did, they also have to have air quality permits for air control, dust control, and stuff like that. And that is a public deal. All you gotta do is call, you can call Albuquerque, you can call Cruces, because they all have to be applied for that. So it's not like it's, let's figure out how to
Can
turn
you
this.
tell them you're busy?
Yeah,
I'll answer it.
yeah, go ahead.
No,
But that is a deal that you can find out within just a few minutes. So you can go to the city and they can tell you, oh, we don't know. Don't stop there. But anyway, especially on the demolition stuff, that is a very touchy area,
Right.
especially with the air quality permits and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, FYI for you.
Yeah. I'll look into that.
Thank you for looking into that. The Dunnigan cleanup, is it gonna be like a big public cleanup, or you're just gonna put a dumpster there and say it's gonna be there for a couple of weeks, or?
Yes, we're just going to throw the dumpster out there.
Okay.
And let residents know once they see the dumpster,
They know what it means?
yeah.
Okay, good. Okay,
And then we plan on running it out to Bulls Acres after that.
okay.
Speaking of Bulls Acres, I did do a drive around Tuesday and looking at all my little problem areas. Rose Street has, in my eyes, improved. There's one little camper shell thing that's sitting on a little trailer out there. Of course, they did just move everything across the street, but it is out of the easements. So is, from what it was a year ago, that's great progress. The First Street, they have got all the cars out of the easement. They do have a lot of junk still in the easement, but it does appear to me like they're cleaning up and hauling off some of the stuff. So, like I say, I don't know when the last time was you went out there, but at both of those sites, they look to be quite a bit better. So the other deals I'm kind of wondering about is on some of our ditch stuff. I don't know if you're aware it's the Holloman Drainage Retaining Pond out there, all that dirt that's been hauled out there, the big piles. I don't know what's happening there. But you might want to kind of follow up and see I know that's on Holloman land, but they've got all that dirt piled up. Remember where the retaining pond was blowed out?
Right.
So I don't know if they're doing something that's gonna hurt us or benefit us downriver, you know.
I'll swing by after the meeting.
But all my other places they look like work in progress to me. So and I'm glad to hear about the Florida deal, so.
I have more. I forgot. I guess 3 days ago, the Borough Flats Fire Department pagers didn't go off on 3 different calls. I was gonna ask John Barney about that, but he's not here today. And then the app on the phones for the real-time reports, is that for all fire departments or just certain?
It is for all fire departments.
What do they need to do to get hooked up?
The chief was sent an email last week or 2 weeks ago requesting information. Once that information is returned back, they go ahead and get everything started and entered into the app. And then once they've logged in, they're live and getting the updates.
Perfect. And then there was also a complaint that when there's an emergency call, that AMR is being called first instead of the fire departments. Now, this is kind of almost sensible to me, because if it's a big emergency and AMR needs to be there, they're there. But they're saying that we are adding an extra expense by not allowing the volunteers to respond. When we call AMR, they bill out the patient no matter what. So it's a fine line. How do we determine when AMR is needed and when the volunteers are needed?
So AMR is going to get paged to every emergency regardless. If the volunteers had staffed EMS on site and could respond, and we went through the PRC licensing, then we could look at not using AMR on that first initial page. They're not being paged first. It is a series of pages that go out at the same time. So to say that they're being paged first is incorrect. It may hit first on the tone, but the next tone is the volunteer department. It should be the volunteer department and then the AMR tone. Sometimes it gets switched, but it's all in that first initial page.
Perfect. And then the truck. Do you know the status of their truck?
I'm working with a vendor next week to put together the specs. We found someone that is willing to do a four-wheel drive truck.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. Now I think I'm done.
Jacob, one other deal, on 2nd Street, 86 2nd Street, on the mobile homes, that you sent a letter to the owners. Have you got a response back?
I have not.
How many days do they have after that letter's been sent?
So we'll go through the initial 30-day letter, and then they get a 15-day certified letter after that. And most of the time, we wait until we get that certified letter back to move forward with anything else. The way that it goes after that 15-day certified letter, it should go to the court system.
Okay, so it's been a month since we talked about this last time, so the 15 days should already be going out?
Right.
Okay,
Are you talking about on 82, where they're starting hauling all those?
it's in Bowles Acres.
Oh, okay, because they're starting to do that on 82 when you first turn off of Florida and head up toward Cloudcroft. There's getting to be quite a few old trailers piling up right there. And I want that to be a problem.
Right.
All right, anything else?
That's all I got.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom's not here, he's at a training to get us some grant money, so we're glad he's not here. Wanting to get us a bunch of money.
Good morning, Commissioners. Trent Parker, Project Manager.
Good morning.
We have been having a busy week, even with the holidays. Chin's Phase 3 is off to a good start. The floor demo in the kitchen is complete. They've also have demoed the existing utilities out of the ground and installed the new plumbing, and it's all been inspected, and they're working on backfill and getting ready to pour the floor back. While waiting on the plumbing, the contractor has removed any of the windows that was scheduled to be removed and infilled, and they're just kind of moving on along. We also executed a change order to patch the existing roof because we'd put the allowance in there. So we met with the roofer. They're coming out and going to be getting any of the existing stuff patched up and fixed. We allotted $50,000 for that. It come out right about $9,800. So.
Never gets old.
But we're managing to get the roof patched for about $9,800, and we had allotted $50,000 just in case it was needed. So So we got a little bit to play with in case anything else comes along. The dispatch center, the casework this month and countertops were installed. The conference room screens have been installed. Access controls and cameras are all complete. This week they had been working on all their final inspections. We got our final state fire marshal's inspection yesterday, and today we're doing a final walkthrough on it, and by next week we're hoping to have the certificate of occupancy so that they can go ahead and get moved in.
I missed which building it was.
The PSAP, the
Okay.
dispatch center. And so, yeah,
Representative Vincent wants a tour of that, but he's gonna be in legislature starting this week, but I wanna get him a tour as soon as
cool.
legislature's out.
Yeah, they'll get it all cleaned up this week, and all the floor coverings and stuff are still down with the last little bit of construction, but once we get it cleaned up, it'll be nice to tour
Show
through
it
there.
off.
So. We're hoping to get them moved in real soon, and I think they're ready for it. Because today with our final walk meeting, we're also going to be talking with the professional services about a possible phase 2 of the project to expand a few more offices and facilities in there for them. The Borough Flats water storage tank, we finally received that tank. It is currently being installed right now. I did get with the plumber that we have on our on-call contract, and they're all set and ready to go up and get the tie-in done and the pump set and to have that complete for the Borough Flat station. Alamo Street Phase 2, they did get all their final grade and engineer fill laid in at the first of the month, and they are working now on getting that blue topped and ready for the first lift of pavement. So after we get that first lift of pavement down, we are going to open up that section for the housing there, and then we'll be closing down the section down towards the the elementary school, so that we can relocate utilities and get that section redone as well. And once we get the first lift of asphalt down on it, then we will go through and asphalt the entire street. At that time, it won't be completely closed off. So. Pecos, the Rialto Bridge south of Pecos, the concrete box structure, the floor and the walls have been completed. They've got it formed, and they're working on completing tying the steel and everything for the lid of it. The contractor, while that work has been done, has got their grade work done. They put in all the new culverts for the driveways adjoining the project, and then now they're backfilling around the structure. So it's coming along real nice, and we're hoping to possibly, if weather dependent, maybe have that open a little early. Suzie Ann Bridge, they have removed the existing structure. They lowered the conflicting water line, and that's complete, and they've got the subgrade done for the box structure, so they'll start forming on that box structure for it. They've done the lower channel work, cleaning up the channel to the north and the south, and they've also milled up the street so that they can prep for the new chip seal that'll be going in. The new road shop building, the partition wall, we got that completed, and I'm waiting on the electricians that we have on call to get me a price for the new electrical service. P&M has already set the pole and transformer, so we should be able to get them settled in pretty quickly once we get that price back. The shooting ring is expansion. The contractor's about 90% complete on the 400-yard range. They're about 90% complete on the general purpose bays. They're about 50% complete on the excavations of the expansion of the retention area. And then this last week, they have started the excavations on the 100-yard range. Also pricing out right now the canopies for the new firing lines for the 2 ranges, and then Tom with the road shop has agreed to go out and put some gravel down for us once we're all completed and ready. And so we're trying to get that wrapped up. The fairgrounds video surveillance and PA system, we've got that under contract right now, and we're scheduling to get that work started. I'll notify the fairgrounds facility once we get a good date of when they're going to start that install. That's forecasted at a 6-week install, so it'll be good to get that one completed.
It'll be about, what, September, 3rd week in September when they're installing that?
Oh no. We're gonna be rolling by the end. We're gonna be rolling by the end of the month.
Okay, good.
The prison roof, the east pods, they're about 25% complete. We have had a lot of weather, and with this cold adhere system, it has to be above 40 degrees for at least 3 hours a day before we can lay any of that down. So this week, we have had some delays. We're expecting to be back out next week. The contractor did notify me that they'll probably be working shorter days because of that factor in there. But we're gonna try to keep rolling on it as quickly as possible. And that's about it.
You haven't been doing nothing. Wow, thank you. Give us a good update today.
The dumpster area and weed, did I miss that, or did
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to talk about that?
Yeah, I
think you
did
got
not
the
put that
fence
on
up.
there.
Didn't we get the fence up?
No,
No?
the fence is out for bid right now. The bid opening is on January 30th, and so then we will have that on February's commission agenda to possibly award that. That is with the 6-foot option. The cattle guard's complete. Tom's crew got that installed and completed. Next week, I've got the PO issued for the relocation of the power pole. So the crews will be going up next week to get that relocated. The cameras, I'm not sure about. That was something Abe was handling. But other than that, we're going pretty good on that one.
Anything else?
Yeah, that's it.
Good job.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Champ. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nina Sisler, Otero County Detention Center Correctional Service Director. I don't know, can you hear me? Am I good? Okay.
You might slide that up to you just a little bit more.
Okay, our average population for the month of December was 195. Today's population overall is 177. I have 144 in-house, 123 males, 21 females, 10 at Otero Prison, 2 at Hudspeth, 2 at Lincoln County, 3 out of county court, so they're at other counties for court temporarily. I do have 1 on a OCJ hold at the prison due to medical issues. And I have 2 juveniles at Donna Anna Detention Center. In the month of December, we had 34 municipal courts in-house, 108 magistrate, 128 district, and 10 out-of-county Google Meets. Those are all over Google Meets. In-person courts at the detention center, we had 3 in-person through magistrate and 10 through district. Presently, I have 17 vacancies. I did have 1 resign, going to another agency in Las Cruces. I do have 4 interviews tomorrow for a detention officer, and I do have a part-time office specialist interview as well tomorrow. We do have Spielman training right now. Sergeant Emery and the Motorola representatives are on site. I've attended some of the training and it's been fabulous, and Emery, they're teaching us a lot that we weren't taught in the beginning. So there are a lot of reports and things that are very beneficial for the facility. So I'm really excited, and hopefully
John
everybody.
Emery's the good guy.
Yes, he is. He's very knowledgeable.
Yes.
Sheriff is very lucky. So he is very IT savvy, for sure. As far as contraband in the facility, we did find a homemade knife, a lighter, crack pipe and booking, and we found a vial with a white powdery substance in it. Of course, the arresting agency was still on site, so they took chain of custody. We had 6 males that were transported to Central New Mexico Correctional Facility in Las Lunas, and 2 females to the Western Correctional Facility in Grants, New Mexico.
Life's coming right along. Busy.
While I got you here, on the consent agenda, we have this communication agreement.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah, very excited.
Me too.
But I do have a question.
Sure.
This attachment, the rates and fees, is that the fees that the inmates pay when they're utilizing the system, making the phone calls and all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that money does not come to our facility? It goes directly to the NCIC?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then it says technology grant. I'm assuming that covers the install and the equipment? Is
I
that?
have my rep here, so would you come up here, Lindsay? He knows all that depth. We're gonna go over some things.
I'm Lindsay within CIC. The technology grant is to go towards other technology that she needs to help the inmates. You know, that's through a fund to manage the inmate costs, and that's where it goes to. So we're sharing, I don't know, the PRC doesn't allow us to share revenue, but it's just kind of helps you all with technology that you need to stay current.
And then it looks like the equipment and everything is part of the deal, that you're
Oh, yeah.
supplying all of that. So what happens on day one when they break some tablets?
We replace them.
And that's it?
That way, yeah. Now, if it's an individual that breaks them on a regular basis, I suggest don't allow them to have a tablet.
Right, I agree.
So, you know, we will have kiosks on the wall with the same ability that the capabilities that the tablets have, so they can use that
Okay.
instead of an individual tablet that they can walk around with.
And this is the tablet system we talked about that has like an earning system, they take
Exactly.
classes and all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good, thank you.
Finally, yes.
Thank you,
It
good.
took a
Yep.
little bit, but we get there.
Yes. That's all I have?
Okay, thank you all.
Any other
I
questions?
look forward to you all gonna be in Santa Fe.
Yes,
One day.
Please come by and say hello.
I'll
Okay.
be up there all week.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have you on the agenda, but would you like to give us an update on the Forest Service?
Sure.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, thank you.
You're all doing well. Marjorie sends her apologies. She was feeling under the weather today, and so she asked if I could come represent the forest for her. But I don't have too much to update you all on. Of course, our forest plan is still being revised, and I think it's in the regional office for review. We did get notice that a notice of intent is out from the Forest Service, Washington office, to prepare an environmental impact statement to amend all the plans in the country for old growth management. So that's available for comment.
I've got a comment on that.
Okay, yeah, so.
I'll be
it's-
sending it to them too.
Yeah, available until February 2nd for comment, so.
Okay.
And of course, we'll have the opportunity to comment again once the EIS comes out in draft form, so.
Okay. I have a issue with them doing an EIS on the entire United States, 128 national forests. Because what happens in New Mexico forest is way different than what happens in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
So we need to have some states and local county officials to have a big input in this.
yeah.
So I'm gonna really push back on that, having a national EI. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree, that should be something that should be done. Truthfully, I don't know how much it'll affect the forests in New Mexico or Arizona, and certainly the Lincoln, because we are in the process of revising right now, and so I don't know that it will necessarily affect this forest, but we shall see.
Well, we've
We
got
still
old
haven't-
growth in this forest, so I mean, I'm afraid it's gonna definitely
Yeah,
affect us.
Yeah, it could, yes, so. The South Sacramento Restoration Project, we did complete consultation with the Fish and Wildlife Service, so we're hoping to have a decision for that project by the end of this summer, so that we can begin implementing later on this fall, hopefully. So that's a good thing, and we're really looking forward to getting going on that, because there's a lot of material that we hope to remove and help, with forest fires and providing material for the local businesses to utilize, as well as fuel wood. So we're in the process now of working with all our allottees to issue annual operating instructions for all our allotments on the forest.
I thought we had a good meeting yesterday, 3.5
Yeah.
hours with the Gosses, I thought.
Yeah, it was good. It was very productive. Didn't get as far as I hoped to, so, but continue to work with them, and hopefully we can get to the point where it's acceptable and satisfying for them in terms of, having an operation that works for them.
That's our goal.
It's something that we need to get done, and hoping to have that to accomplish that. So we shall see. Anyway, we are coordinating with the State Forestry Department and the Village of Cloudcroft in their application or proposal for funding to assist private landowners in providing that defensible space around their properties. And it's in coordination with the greater Cloudcroft Wildland Urban Interface project that we've got going. We have that entered into the National Wildfire Crisis Strategy portal, and so we're hoping to have that analysis done within a few months and implementing next year to thin around the village of Cloudcroft so that hopefully we get to it before a fire comes through and takes it out for us, because that would be very unfortunate. I think that's all that I have for right now, unless you guys had any questions for me.
The one big question that I'm going to ask every meeting is, have you discussed with the Department of Game and Fish on the elk situation?
Yes, we have, and we continue to try to engage more with them to, manage the herd up on the mountain. The more information that we gather, the more we see that it is a much bigger problem in terms of conflicts with grazing and other resources. And so we're hoping to make some progress with the State Game and Fish Department, but it's been difficult, and we will continue to push that. Folks out of our regional office do regularly communicate with the Game and Fish Department. So, and I did have a really nice conversation with Mr. Vincent about working with the state as best we can to address that concern. So.
We talked about this yesterday when we had the meeting with the Forest Service, and Casey Spackman and Sam Smallage from the New Mexico State University Range Improvement Task Force were there, and they've got some very interesting numbers and how to calculate on the damage that the elk are doing versus what the cattle are doing. So I hope that we can continue to work with them to shed light on that, because the documents that I feel like we're using right now for these AOIs and the BOs, I don't think they have legitimate statistical information on them. I'd like to really delve into that and revamp those.
Yeah.
And use our local NMSU people rather than the information we got from Arizona. I want to keep that in the state.
Yeah, and we will continue to work with NMSU. And I did speak with Sam yesterday, and I did speak with Casey for the last meeting that we had back in October, but to implement a study using drones to try to capture or try to assess what the population size of the elk are in the Sacramento Mountains, so that we can have a better idea as to what, and as they said yesterday, it's hard to partition out the use from each group of grazers out there, but at least we'll have a better idea as to what the population of elk are, rather than these estimates.
Can we use drones up there because of the owl?
Yeah, we can. We just have to be careful about when we use them and how close they come to those nesting birds. And so, we can work around that. And that's what I was telling Mr. Smallage yesterday, is that we can figure something out so that they can implement that study, and we can get some better numbers and better ideas as to what the damage is.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
Do we have another date, proposed date or anything on an Otero County working group for the fire cleanup and everything?
I haven't seen anything scheduled.
Yeah, I don't know that we have a date set yet, but
That's probably Nick that was in charge of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Barella. I am meeting with Kim Kostelnick and other members of the industry next week, so that we can at least give them a better idea as to what's coming up for timber sales, that they're ready to take that material and utilize it to the best of their ability. So, and the other thing that I wanted to mention is that with the Cloudcroft WUI project coming up and the SSRP being implemented, we're going to have a great need for folks to have the ability to go on and remove some of this material, primarily for fuel wood. And so I know that at the last meeting, we talked a little bit about, or you talked a little bit about the county funding or contracting with someone to remove material from the forest so that they can provide it to families that are needy. And so, you know, I'd like to at some point sit down with y'all and continue that conversation so that we can coordinate with the state forestry and funds that is available through them so that we can get this done. Our regional office, our regional forester was very excited to hear this, and so I think we need to pursue that as aggressively as we can, so.
Harvey, do you see any issues with the county helping with that? Is that any kind of anti-donation?
There's probably a way to work around it, you know, because it'd be addressing indigency, and that's kind of like the one exception.
Okay.
So we'll just have to. That's not the challenging part. The challenging part I see is getting someone to go get the wood for free, to cut it for free and stuff, and us giving it to people is an issue. It's finding us contracting someone that would take care of that. That one though would be more complicated, and I'd have to think about that for a while and see what we could do.
The grants that have been issued so far, isn't it for that purpose where they're being paid to clear that and then they just donate it?
That's what I'm thinking, yeah, and I'm not real certain about how that process would play out, but that's what I'm thinking is that, you know, through a grant through the state, somehow we could fund a contractor to remove the material and make it available for these families that need it.
Yeah, maybe we can schedule a meeting to look at the resources available and the avenues, and then we can figure out a game plan.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's all I got. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
You bet.
Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to pull?
No.
Okay, number 1, request approval of accounts payable bill list BL 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. Number 2, request approval of healthcare assistance claims and disposition claims for January 2024. Number 3, request approval of property liens for reimbursement of unclaimed descendant disposition services for 2024. Number 4, request approval of December 7th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Number 5, request approval of December 14th, 2023 special meeting minutes. Number 6, request approval of resolution number 01-11-24/112-22 budget adjustments, January 2024. Number 7, request approval of resolution number 01-11-24/112-23, authorizing submission of U.S. Department of Transportation application for Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity Discretionary Grant Program. Number 8, request approval to appoint Pamela Heltner as board member to the Southeastern New Mexico Economic Development District Council of Governments. Number 9, request approval of the renewal of an agreement between Otero County and Management Associates Incorporated for all facets of labor relations and human resources on an as-needed basis of $150 per hour. Number 10, request approval of an agreement between Otero County and Network Communication International Corporation. Number 11, request approval to start the 2-year warranty period for acceptance of the road maintenance for Chaparral Desert Hill Subdivision Phase 2. That's all of them.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now we're going to move on to unscheduled citizen communication. Jen Gruger.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm Jen Gruger. I'm the co-chair of the 100% Otero Medical Dental team. I also work for Community Connections, a team of community health workers at Joel Champion. And it is on our behalf, our team is organizing the point-in-time count this year. I'm reading right off of a frequently asked questions sheet here, and if it's okay, I'll leave that at the front desk here. The New Mexico Coalition to End Homelessness, along with community volunteers such as 100% Otero, work together to coordinate the state point-in-time count, and the goal is to count the current number of individuals and families experiencing homelessness statewide on a given night of the year, and to learn more about their specific needs. So we achieve this goal by having volunteers conduct surveys in places like soup kitchens, day shelters, and directly on the streets. The count is important because knowing how many people experience homelessness statewide helps secure funding for homeless service programs, including annual federal funding for long-term solutions like permanent supportive housing and transitional housing. And by learning more about the demographics of individuals and families experiencing homelessness, that information will help influence practices and policy, clearly identifying those most in need of supportive housing and effectively connecting people to housing and support services. Volunteering for the point-in-time count involves really two or three things. Surveys can be conducted at agency or programs where clients come to receive services. So, for example, Renter's Refuge is a location that will be helping us do this count. There are many others, food kitchens, other organizations around town or throughout the county. This is a county-wide count. Street outreach surveying. So these are volunteers that will go to outdoor locations frequented by individuals experiencing homelessness. My community health workers, most of us, many of us with 100% Otero are familiar with these locations and with these folks, and my community health workers especially provide services to them, so they kind of know where those folks are. So we'll be going out to meet them where they are. Basically, it's a short survey. We collect the answers in person by writing them down on paper, or we can put them in a tablet, but all of the data gets entered into a statewide site, and that's part of actually a national effort. There's a point in time it's a national phenomenon. We also will collect donations that are distributed to individuals in exchange for doing the survey. Things like socks, blankets, hand warmers, hats, gloves, scarves, and those are being collected at our 100% Otero office on the NMSUA campus.
Sorry, that's it for your time.
Oh, good.
You have to limit
Perfect.
it to 3 minutes. I'm
Excellent.
sorry.
Good.
Thank
No,
you
I
so
got to
much
hear.
for coming
Thank
in.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next we have Peg Krim.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. And you guys know, I'm sorry, but I can't sit down and talk.
As long as they can hear you in the microphone, so
Can
they
they
hear
hear
you
me?
at home.
Am I good? I can't talk. They won't, oh my gosh, I'll try to do this. Oh, goodness. We'll see if I can do it. As you know, I'm here with 100% Otero. Our mission is to eliminate childhood trauma, and I was sitting here listening to the meeting. It's just so important because we can help reduce the issues that the sheriff's department have to deal with. You're gonna hear from Jeanette and the mobile crisis. Hopefully, if we can make it that children aren't exposed to trauma, we can reduce the amount of work that you guys have to do here and hopefully make our community and our county a better place. So I got a couple of things real quickly I want to talk to you about. We are also doing at the same time, which is not convenient, but it is what's going on, a survey of families. That's our target audience is families. We want to know what services they need, if they can access those services, and if they can't, what keeps them from accessing those services. And when we get that information back, we're doing the survey in January and February. I'll come talk to you about it and tell you all about it. And then 100% Otero will be working on what we can do to remove the barriers that keep people from accessing the services they need to be a successful family, to grow successful kids. So this is a poster. I hope you'll see them around town. I'll leave some with Amber, some cards. People can just scan the QR code. There's a link, or we do have paper copies of the survey. We want to get as many families as we can in Otero County to answer. For it to be statistically valid, we need over 600 responses, and we want them from all areas of the county. So that's one thing. If you can help us with the survey, we'd really appreciate it. We will also be having our second annual 100% Otero Summit on Thursday, February 8th. Amy came last year, and it'll be there'll be a lot of interaction between people, talking to people, learning from each other, finding out what services are out there, what's not working, what's working, what we can do better. And in the afternoon, we will have a keynote speaker, Jessica Sinarski, who is an expert on brain science and how trauma affects kids and what parents, educators, caregivers can do to help heal those children and make them be more successful. It's free. If any of you want to come, we just do ask that you register so we know how many people, and we'd love to have you all come.
Did you say the Civic Center?
It's at the Civic Center.
Okay,
Thank you, Amy.
okay.
One other thing is on March 21st, and that will be at the Hospital Conference Center. We're going to have a community conversation about housing, homelessness, housing insecurity, all those things. We're going to have some great folks from the state, from the Eastern Regional Housing Authority, from the New Mexico Coalition to End Homelessness, from the MFA Mortgage Finance Authority, from all sorts of people, again, where hopefully we can learn about all the things all the opportunities out there to do things to help reduce our homeless population. Thank you. I had one more.
Coy Griffin?
Good morning, Commissioners. Coy Griffin, Vormer County Commissioner. I came here this morning to once again bring to light what I believe is the most concerning thing coming up in our future, and that's the 2024 elections. The work that we've already done here in Otero County with the evidence that Otero County has provided has proven that there's discrepancies inside of our electorate and that our electorate is compromised without a doubt. But the most concerning thing for you all right now is that you're voting yes to certify elections that you question. And that's very dangerous in regards to your oath, because the reason why the vote is up to a yes/no vote on the bottom floor, it's about liability. Whenever the election washes out and is proven, which we know is fraudulent and rigged, whenever it washes out, the people that are going to be left holding the bag are going to be you guys. Even though right now they're leveraging us from the top, saying they're going to throw you in jail and press you with felonies and remove you from office, if you don't vote yes on a yes/no board vote. And you have to question yourself, why would they be doing that to us? Why would they be leveraging us to vote yes on a yes/no board vote? Again, it's about liability. Whenever it comes down and the vote washes out and it proves to be rigged, the people at the top are going to point to you at the bottom and say, well, y'all certified it. And they're going to leave you holding the bag. That's why I want you to make concessions now, get them on record, call a public hearing, bring your concessions before the people, file a resolution that says that I will not certify the 2024 election if there is not voter ID, which we know with the migrant deal right now is huge. The drop boxes are a scam, and the mail-in ballots are a scam. If you will put these concessions on record at a public hearing, put the Secretary of State on notice, let everybody know that you're not going to vote to certify the election if they keep this fraud up, and then you'll have ground to stand on when that day comes. It won't be like, oh, it's just because your horse didn't come in or because your person didn't win, that's why you don't want to certify it. That's what the media does to us. That's what we saw them do to us. But if you will make your concessions now when you don't even know the result, how it's going to go, strictly on security and safety of the electorate, I believe that you will have strong leverage, and I believe the people of Otero County will be very grateful for you honoring your oath. Now, the county and others are going to try to talk you out of it, but Roy Nichols doesn't hold an oath to office. You all hold the oath. Whenever there's accountability given, it's not going to be county attorneys and stuff that are going to be called to the carpet. It's going to be the county commissioners and the people who have sworn an oath to protect the election. So I implore you, please call a public meeting. Please get a resolution designed with very simple 3 concessions. Move and pass and honor your oath. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to new business. Number 13, Request approval of the Mobile Crisis Response Team's annual improvement plan for the first year of the intergovernmental agreement.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amber Mayhall, Healthcare Services Director.
Good morning.
Good morning. First, I want to make sure you guys did get the report that
We
was
did.
attached. Okay, good. So then second, I need to actually amend it, and I do apologize for this inconvenience. Yeah.
Amber, before I forget, can you keep us notified on what the lady told us about the dates when the homeless awareness and all that? Can you?
The summit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I do apologize, the report, the end of year report numbers, it's actually the incorrect report. So the request for approval is just to approve this report and then, but also add that amended numbers report. And when we present to the city, we'll have the correct report at the end. So I do apologize. And you have this. Okay, good. So. All right, so today I have here with me, this is Jeanette Brunda. She is the clinical director of the Mobile Crisis Response Team with the Alamogordo Police Department. I do believe she also has her peer supports here as well, so moral support.
We're not mean.
Okay, so this is the this is part of the contract. This report is required to provide kind of an overall yearly analysis of the experience of the mobile crisis response team within the county, and then some data. This is our first report, so if there is any information that was not provided in this report that you would like to see next year, please let me know between now and next year so that we can ensure that that's in the report. But I do think this is a good beginning report for what we have. It's a very new program. It's pretty nationally new to begin tracking data. So yes, so we'll get started. All right, so first and foremost.
Is the quarter for the year starting January or quarter for the year starting?
Okay, yeah, no, good question. This quarter starting is going to be in, it'll be, I think, September,
Okay.
Because that's when the contract starts.
Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem. Okay, so first off, we're going to talk history. So a couple years ago, back in 2018, and this is when Susan Flores was on the commission, the city of Alamogordo applied for a sequential intercept model mapping. It took a look at the first couple steps, 0 through 2, which is in the interactions within the criminal justice system. So it's community service, then 911 interaction, and law enforcement interaction. And it took a look at the access to services and what certain gaps are and what are the needs of the community. And based on the final report that came from that sequential intercept model mapping, the highest priority that was determined was that Otero County, or the city of Alamogordo, needed a mobile crisis response team to help divert individuals out of our criminal justice system and into getting services provided by our community health providers, so our behavioral health agencies, mental health agencies, and just overall health care. So based on that, the city of Alamogordo did apply for a grant with the El Paso del Norte Foundation, and it's been funded by this grant, I think, for a couple years, right? 5? Yeah, there you go. So, however, the grant was going to end. I did see a need in the community to continue this program, but also to expand it into the community to benefit individuals outside of Alamogordo. So that would be like Cloudcroft, La Luz, Chaparral. So the contract that we have includes all of Otero County, and it ensures that everyone in Otero County can have access to this service in need. So Jeanette and her team are connected to everyone, not just individual residents in the city of Alamogordo. Commissioner, you look like you have a question. No, okay. You you took a breath.
No.
All right.
He's just breathing.
All right. So, okay. So the type of response that the city of Alamogordo has, it is a co-response model. It is different. There are a couple of other co-response models. Bernalillo and Santa Fe also have one. But in Santa Fe, it's a separate mental health agency. They get called out. And in Bernalillo, it is an embedded co-response, but they ride along with law enforcement and they respond with law enforcement. In Otero County and in Alamogordo, what we have is, it is co-response. They do respond with law enforcement, but they respond separately. So they don't respond in the same vehicle. They are in an unmarked vehicle. And the reason for that is there are some individuals who are triggered by law enforcement, their vehicles, their outfits, just everything about law enforcement is triggering. So they end up attending the scene in the least traumatic way. Do you want to say more about that?
Yes, in addition, we also, as civilian responders, do not want to be, we do not want to appear as law enforcement either. We don't want people to come to us thinking that we're in any way, shape, or form representing a law enforcement officer, because we are not officers. So that is the other reason. And we are in plain clothes. When we first started this program, I did have a uniform, and that proved time and time again, people thought I was an officer and would come to me to say, can you take care of this? Can you do that? Can you write a ticket? Can you, all of those things. And there was one situation in which a gentleman got very aggressive with me, thinking that I was an officer, and we decided that that was not an appropriate attire for us to respond in. So we are plain clothes as well.
Can you run through, just so that we know, what would a scenario look like for you to get called out? What would happen?
Sure. So the way that the policy is written right now, there's two different ways that we can respond. One is that there is a crisis and 911 is called. Officers go out. They determine that this person is in a behavioral health crisis or a mental health crisis, and that they are requiring our services. So they say, our skill set is not covering this. This is mental health. We need you to assist. It may be somebody who is suicidal, somebody who is homicidal, and so they call us out. They make sure that that I am safe in that situation, whatever that requires. Whether it's I do have a vest, whether that's with my vest, a shield. I've been in the SWAT truck, things like that, to de-escalate. And so I'll give an example. There was a gentleman within a home who had a firearm to his head. We could see him through the window. Officers felt that they had tried everything they could to de-escalate the situation. They called me out. I got him on the phone. And I'm talking to him, de-escalating him. And then eventually the gentleman put down the gun, came out. He went to the hospital. So that is a situation in which we would be called out. Another is there are certain situations where we know we have people who we have a history with who are serious mentally ill in the community. We had a call where officers were getting called because we had a person that is on our caseload who was walking around without pants. You
need pants.
You need pants. So Chief called me and he said, are you comfortable going to respond to her? And I said yes. So we went out, talked to her. We already had clothing with us so that we could help get her clothed right away. But that's a situation in which, we don't need to, he didn't feel like we needed to dispatch an officer out to deal with getting somebody in pants. And he said, can you do it? So those are two situations. In addition, those situations in which we go out, we do a CIT referral, crisis intervention team referral. And if officers respond and we're not needed, but it's a mental health call, they also do the crisis intervention team referral. Those come into my team. Our coordinator combs through those every morning, and then it's assigned to a peer support person. So our peer support has 24 hours to call that person. And our goal is to reduce the calls to 911 for non-crisis related emergencies, right? Non-criminal emergencies, those types of things. So then we take that person, get them hooked up to services, therapy, medication management, rent, food, whatever, you go into a crisis when you don't have food, those types of things, get them hooked up to those things to reduce the number of 911 calls that are going out. We carry them on a caseload. They do not have to pay a fee for doing that, for being on our caseload. We carry them for about 2 months, and then once their treatment plan is completed, then we discharge them. People also choose to self-discharge themselves. You know what, I had a bad night, you got me hooked up with a referral, thank you, I no longer need your services, that's fine as well. And then we have a list of about 20 people that we keep eyes on in the city. Those with serious mental illness just drive by, check in, hey, how you doing? And I am in contact with their providers, if they have a psychiatric provider, and let them know, hey, it's time that Susie Joe, she's met the criteria to go in hospital, and we work together to get them back into the hospital to get stabilize the medications. So that, in a nutshell, is what our program does. Our peer support also, they are folks with lived experience, and so it is an easier way to create rapport with somebody by saying, hey, I've been there, and then they provide that ongoing support throughout the week, throughout the month. They call, sometimes we have some people call us 10, 12 times a day, and that's a phone call to us just to talk to them on the phone rather than calling 911. So some of them still call 911, but instead of those 20 phone calls, we get 15, 911 gets maybe 5.
Do we do any awareness, education or anything in Chaparral?
At this time, we have not received, and this continues on in the report. So at this time, we have not received any referrals, any official referrals from the county throughout this last year. Any of the numbers that you do see have been either referrals from within the school system. So the child is in Alamogordo Public Schools, school resource officer gave me a referral, or I've had a deputy call me individually to say, hey, can you help with this person? But I would like to get more out into the county. We are just waiting for the official process to come through to start receiving those referrals out there.
Right, because there's about 15,000 population down there on Otero side.
Yes. We've done some preliminary work in terms of gathering resources that we have down there, who we can start to refer to and those types of things. So as soon as we start to get the referrals, we're ready to go and start going out there and letting them know.
Sheriff Black, is there anyone in your deputies or sergeants down there that would be a good contact person with the community for them to get a footstep in the door to, they probably see more of it than anybody if there is anything happening. I'm just trying to figure out how we can get spread out where everybody can learn.
We've had some changes down there recently. We've got some new sergeants down there, so I do have one that we would probably do a deal with Sergeant Gutierrez. And he would probably need to be
Just somebody that's familiar with the area to try to figure out how to.
Yeah, he's been down there. He's worked down there many years, so he's familiar with the area. So he would be the one that I would. I'll put him in contact.
And whatever I can do to help you, let me know.
And we'll talk a little bit more about some of that in the report as well, because there's some issues. We do know we need to do more outreach.
Okay.
Vision for the future. So moving on from the type of crisis team that we have, or mobile crisis team we have. So 988 was implemented in 2022. And we were trying to have a contract enacted around that time. It didn't happen. So I think we were like a year later or something like that, or was it? Yeah. And but they do interact with those 911 or 988 calls. They do get transferred down to 911, and that's where they get they get dispatched out. And they do have engagement with the schools. So the engagement with the school, that's where one of their priorities is going to be focusing on our adolescent youth, so that we don't have to interact with them as adults. So, anything else? So program goals. So this is part of the steering committee's observations and data collection. So as noted, primarily the goals are to reduce emergency services by increasing harm reduction strategies in our community, getting them out of the criminal justice system, putting them into community-based services. A couple of the stakeholder priorities is, one, improving communication between MCRT, law enforcement, with me, and then with other community members that would utilize this service, such as the Alamogordo Public Schools and just the public school system all around. And then also gathering additional information and data, such as students referred, adults, and those with serious mental illness, and are there any CYFD involved cases, youth referrals to Gerald Champion for suicide, for suicidality and other things. So hopefully we'll be collecting more of that data in this coming year. I'm not collecting it on a month to month. This is something that could be collected at the end of the year. Also, sensory autism bags are being distributed to our law enforcement through Christina Hastings, and I cannot remember what OCAD stands for.
Otero County Advocates for Developmental Disabilities.
Yes. So, and that kind of gives law enforcement officers the tools to communicate more effectively for individuals who may not be so communicative. And I don't know if you want to say more about that.
Sure. This was a collaboration with the Otero County Advocates for Developmental Disabilities, and what they did is put together, we brainstormed what would need to be in a sensory bag, and this is a couple of years ago. The mobile crisis team met with OCAD to figure out how we can better assist this population. We came up with a sensory bag, so folks with anywhere on the autism spectrum, traffic stops, anything like that can be really overwhelming to them. So we put in it a communication board for those who may not be able to verbalize what they need, or kids who are scared, kids who don't speak, who are mute, those types of things. The communication board, one side is English, one side is Spanish. They can write on it. They have a pen to write with it. There are things like the lights or the sirens may be too much. There's sunglasses, there's noise canceling headphones, there's fidgets, things like that. And what our officers have said is that they have utilized these bags. They've even used them on crashes when things are just too overwhelming for folks. So those bags are out and have been distributed and continue to be distributed when we do the CIT trainings.
And they're very pretty and colorful. I do like them. So, one of the other things that we, as a steering committee, realize is that we do need to have more public conversations about the mobile crisis response team. I do want to have more public service announcements. How do people engage with the team? How to call for services? What services that they respond to? I do want to put that out into the community. I've been hesitant to do that. Because right now they do not have another clinical director. They've been having some issues finding a second clinical director. Right now it's only Jeanette covering 24/7 for the entire county. So I'm hesitant to put forth more materials dedicated to education until they do get a new director, and then also we kind of make sure our law enforcement agencies are comfortable with this implementation countywide, because I would really hate to have it where we have a huge increase in utilization and we have a lot of hiccups along the way. So we also want to start promoting the CIT graduation. I've emailed each commissioner here to hopefully attend these graduation ceremonies. They are 40 hours long, and if you've ever sat in them, it's excruciating just because of the chairs, but it's incredibly informative. And very interesting. I think the people who do the presentations are interesting. You do, these officers, they do get mock training, so they're put into mock situations to try and resolve a situation utilizing the skills that they learn. And it is incredibly informative. It's very rigorous. And our law enforcement officers, as well as our emergency services, our detention center, and our hospital, who are attending these educations, these trainings, they deserve our our support, because we are making the community a little bit better, a little bit at a time with each training. So, and making people more aware about the traumas involved with law enforcement interaction and what happens when people don't have access to certain resources and what can happen.
I put that on my calendar every single time, so keep emailing me, please. Okay?
Thank you.
And Commissioner Barella did email me this weekend and asked me to let her know of the upcoming trainings this year. I will do that. You are always welcome to pop in at any point and see any part of the training, or come and shadow the training. That is always an invite to you all. And I will add that we trained just short of 100 first responders and law enforcement officers this year. And that included, for the first time in about 3 years, we had detention center staff. So I appreciate, Nina left, I appreciate Nina stepping in and getting some detention officers there, as well as we had some county EMS folks attend, and one person from Tularosa Regional Dispatch Authority. So we are continuing to bring in our county folks. And we really want to focus on getting folks trained for Mescalero and our surrounding areas, but they're my number one focus because they're having so many issues on the reservation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's like the number 6 is focusing on Mescalero response as well, kind of bringing them into the fold. We do know that they want to actually start their own CIT. So hopefully we can partner, or Jeanette can partner, so that they can have their own, since they are, sovereign and separate. But that doesn't mean that they're not part of our community. So part of our contract, Mescalero is part of Otero County. So if they need and want those services, they can certainly have and request them. So they are eligible. And then also lastly is we do want some more representation at the CIT International Conference, not only with law enforcement, but just our community overall. This is a good opportunity not only for networking with other CIT programs, but it's a good education. It's good education. It's very similar to like what we get with the NMC conferences. It's just bigger and in a very different state. So, but it is overall, it's a net positive to have representation there, and also to talk about the fact that Otero County it's still right the only rural mobile crisis response team within the county, and within New Mexico. Everywhere else it's Santa Fe, it's Bernalillo, and they're larger. And we're doing it with less money and with a smaller team, and so I'm proud of that.
Who from Otero County is going to go to this? I'm assuming you are, and you're good.
So, and then trainings. So the contract requires at least 4 trainings throughout the contract term. They were only able to do 1 through with our funds, but that's because the other 3 were funded by Paso del Norte. So it wasn't like that they didn't fulfill it. It's just they used different funds. But trainings were provided, and you can see the list of the 21 agencies and that were represented. So we do have Holloman on here. We have Mescalero. We have the 12th Judicial Court, and New Mexico Game and Fish, and we have other agencies that were from out of county, like Las Cruces and Ruidoso. So, but yeah. But we still need a full-time clinician. I think the issue that they've had is pay. Her and I, we've met with some people in regards to the second clinical director position, and that tends to be the biggest issue is pay. People who come into this position, they're taking a huge pay cut when you're going from private to a public position. I do not direct and dictate what the pay is. That is very specifically the City of Alamogordo is directing that. The grant funds is solely to do whatever it is that they need to do to provide for all of Otero County, but preferably the funds are to pay for the salaries of these positions. So, okay, and then moving forward, certificates, part of the contract is to be certified by CIT International. Right now, CIT International, they have not been providing any certifications. They're revamping it. I don't know if you want to talk more about that.
I can also speak to that. I'm on the board of directors for CIT International. So one of the things that we've run into is having people leave, and we are revamping the certification process to have a better collaboration within our board, and also assign it to our new staff members. So we are growing in staff members there, but also the board changed over, and some people left that were doing the certification programs. So we are right in the middle of revamping that process. And until it is revamped, we will not be accepting any applications for, to be accredited within CIT. That will happen hopefully this year. That's on our to-do list.
And then also steering committees. So there is supposed to be quarterly meetings for a steering committee. Last year that was not fulfilled in terms of having the quarterly meetings. That's going to change this year. Our next meeting, we're going to have to cancel it, but we're going to have it.
We'll have it either the first or second week of February, and you will receive an invite.
Yes.
That is an open public forum, so that anybody who wishes to be on the steering committee may do so.
Yeah. So it's open to anyone. You don't have, we would really appreciate people with lived experiences attending. They have insight that, other people may not have, but yes, anyone is welcome. And if anyone wants the invitation, you can email me, and I can send that invitation and the dates of that steering committee. And I think we're gonna try and have it also virtual, because there was a request for it the last time we had a steering committee, and also to make it easier for people in other areas of Otero County to attend. We know that it's probably very difficult for people in Chaparral and Mescalero to attend something that we schedule here. Okay, moving on. So improvement data, so service gaps. So overall, one of the things that I did request in this report is identifying what the service gaps in our community are. And they are affordable housing and shelters. There's not enough resources for children and adolescents for therapy and medication management. There's also not enough programs, just addiction programs for teenagers. And we also have an issue with transportation. It's either not accessible or it doesn't go to enough places for people to access care. So there are people who, according in this report, that will rent a vehicle, but that means, in order to actually get to their appointments, but that means that they have to sacrifice paying rent for where they're living. So that's kind of an issue at the moment. And then, of course, rental assistance and utilities assistance overall tends to be an issue in the community. There are programs that do provide rental assistance and other utility assistance, but the problem is access, and that is that you have to request it at a particular time and day, and people work, and that can be incredibly difficult for people to get when it conflicts with a work schedule. And then also it's a first come, first serve. So it's very limited funding at the moment. Let's see. So overall, the improvement for next year is going to be improving communications with the Alamogordo Public Schools and schools in general. And then working with leadership in law enforcement, with all law enforcement to better capture information and to better capture the referrals. I do believe the sheriff office, you guys were given the most up-to-date referral, right? Okay. And also working with Gerald Champion, there has been some issues with Gerald Champion in the past in regards to like discharge, is that correct?
Discharge, and also knowing when the folks that we are working with have been admitted to the hospital. You know, what we would really love to do, and what one of our intentions is when somebody is being discharged from, like, let's say behavioral medicine, that we're notified so that we're able to catch them, do a warm handoff, and that way our peer support can be calling them and say, hey, you have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. Do you have transportation there? You know, to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks again. And then also when we go into the emergency room, there are times when, because of the way that they rotate through staff, have no idea who we are, you know, what we're doing, who are you, why does it matter to me, those types of things. So if we can stay on their radar as the way to orient people when they are coming in on contract, we would love to do that. That way they have an idea of who we are and who they can call as well.
So I think that kind of sums up the majority of the text in the report. Do you guys have any questions?
I know that you explained the step-by-step process of when you get called in. I know that our dispatch authority has also been doing their own training for crisis phone calls and all that kind of stuff. So how is that going to come into play with you? Are you coordinating that with them?
So the policy has always been that they contact law enforcement first before calling us on an emergent, like a situation that is very acute. So something like a suicidal person or homicidal person, or someone who is in a manic episode. So we are dispatched to law enforcement to go out for those calls. However, there are calls where they are requesting just to talk to mobile crisis. And in those cases, they are contacting me directly and just transferring over the phone. So I do have a radio that they can call Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But in the outside times, they do know that they need to call me via phone in order to get a hold of me.
Is that the 988? Is that where that comes in?
No, 988 is a statewide, it's 911, but 988 is for mental health. So the way that it is routed right now is 988 will, if they need to get in touch with somebody, they call our dispatch. They have a direct number to call our dispatch here, the Tularosa Basin. And then if it's just somebody needing to talk to somebody, like I said, they'll contact me directly. If it's somebody that needs to go out, if they have a plan, then we're going to have to send somebody out.
So you're dispatched through the dispatch center?
Correct.
Okay.
How's that working?
I think it works just fine. The problem is, as we transitioned over to, pulling everybody in, not everybody was familiar with that, so we had some hiccups right at the beginning. Somebody at 8 o'clock at night was like, I was calling you on the radio, and I said, oh, my radio gets turned off at 5. Please call my cell phone. And they said, oh, so internally, they have had to redo some training to let them know how to get a hold of me.
Have you been out to the new dispatch?
I have. It's very nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So, okay, so as far as the amended report at the end here, I do want to let you know we did not give them more money, as the report may have indicated. They spent money. So they did spend approximately, they spent $44,748.02. And that is for an all-terrain vehicle and then CIT training. They did, as of this contract year, they have switched over their employees from being on the grant to now on our contract, so that we will end up seeing that expenditure this year. But thus far, that's all that they spent this year, and so the people in the community did benefit. And I'll just go through the overall totals with you, just really, really quick. So there were only, let's see, phone calls were made were 19, and then phone referrals for the clinical director were 32. These are the informal calls from the sheriff's office. So this report actually does not reflect every single call that they have. We're actually going to fix that this contract year and show a little more. So we'll see more in comparison to what the city of Alamogordo has, because it is beneficial to see the contrast between just the city of Alamogordo and then the rest of Otero County. And hopefully we will have more formal reports and not informal interactions with law enforcement. I do want to emphasize too that the benefactors of these referrals for the law enforcement, it also allows Tularosa and the Cloudcroft PD to participate. So we're hoping that they get on board as well. It is available for them. It's free of charge for that to participate. It only benefits their community. So we're hoping to see more formal reports, or more formal referrals from them. Say that 10 times fast.
And Cloudcroft has the new police chief, so you might want to get a hold of him.
And Tularosa too?
And I do want to reiterate that the way that we get the referrals is through the deputies or the officers. So if when we receive those referrals from them, the official referral form, we can start working with those folks. The informal referrals we have received this year have been just via phone call, hey, can you help this person? And you know, I'm not going to turn somebody away who doesn't, even though we don't have a formal referral, I'm not going to turn them away. My information was also given out by several deputies to say, hey, call this person, she can help you. Once again, I'm not going to turn somebody away if they need help. So that is how the referrals have happened this year. And we had two that, like I said earlier, the school resource officer from Alamogordo Police Department did the referral. It turned out they lived in the county, in the La Luz area. So these are shared consumers through the city and the county, but we're ready and willing to help everybody that we can in the county.
And also the information that I do collect from Jeanette, it is right here in this monthly expenditure summary sheet and stuff. I do not collect anything that identifies anybody in the community at the moment. I do plan on working with our indigent healthcare system, which is our database system, to give them access so that they can have access to case management, and so that we can better track individuals and identify and connect individuals to services that they may need in the community. So that is a work in progress, but there isn't a case management or a database system that specifically caters to this type of service at the moment. And that is it. Do you guys have any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do.
So we still have to approve it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I make a motion to approve the Mobile Crisis Response Team's annual improvement plan for the first year of the intergovernmental aid agreement.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 14, request approval of multi-line and law enforcement coverage for 2023, selecting NMC for multi-line and law enforcement sheriff coverage on QBE specialty for law enforcement detention.
Matt here somewhere?
He was just here.
Well, I guess I'll jump in.
Are you Matt?
I will be right now.
Of
Of course, we brought this to you last month to have Vicki go ahead and approve, because this had to be approved by January 1. They made this decision very short notice. You see that our claim, our premiums did go up. This was a nationwide issue for premiums going up. It wasn't anything specifically related to increase in claims or damages that we experienced. We're hoping next year not to see such a big increase, but it's kind of unavoidable. But like I said, this has already been approved. This is kind of a formality. We say this is where it is. But if you could vote on it, that would be great, because we are ratifying the approval.
Any other questions?
No questions?
I did it. Oh, there you go. She identified as you and did it. We're fixing to vote on it.
They're gonna vote.
Okay.
On one hand, I am definitely with you.
All right, I make a motion for the approval of multi-line and law enforcement coverage for 2023, selecting NMC for multi-line and law enforcement sheriff coverage with QBE specialty for law enforcement detention.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 15, discuss and consider the reorganization of the board for 2024. I guess I'll start this out because I'm the sitting chair, and I've thought about this a lot. And I would, obviously with the support of you guys, I would like to continue, because I think when I go to Washington in February, it helps. So that's where I'm at.
That's what I was going to ask you. And people don't understand your job duties, for one. You know, we are all working, but your position requires a lot more work and a lot more attention. And I know that you're in the middle of a lot of things right now, and you don't want to take away what you've got going. And I was wondering if you wanted to shoulder that for another year or two.
I have no problem leaving it the way it is.
Okay.
So it's,
You want to continue as vice chair?
I will.
So that we can, do you agree with that too?
Oh, yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so I make a motion for me to continue as chair and Bill to continue as vice chair. All right,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. I'll try to do you proud in Washington, and
You
I'll
do
try
us
not to cuss.
proud already.
It's a big one. All right, number 16, discuss possibility of enacting a county lodger's tax. I'll let you take the lead on this.
Well, I have more questions than statements right now.
Me too.
Yes. And Julianne has all the answers.
I hope so.
Collections. I see that we are completely responsible for our own collections, and I visioned this was going to be like when I report my GRT taxes, I just put that number in there and add to that. And the way that I read this, it's not that way. It looks like we have to do those collections.
We would be like New Mexico Tax and Revenue, as far as like they collect the gross receipts tax and then they distribute it. The county would be collecting it. I do have a little bit of experience from this, from working at the city, and I believe what the city would do is each year they would identify the different establishments, the lodging establishments, and at that time, the short-term rentals like the Airbnbs were not a part of the system. It was just the hotels, motels in town. And we would send a packet to them at the beginning of the year that essentially had a form for each month that they were to report their revenue, and then the percent, the 5% or 2% or whatever percentage it was that they would report. And then they would make a payment to the city. So it's sort of an honor type system, because there's really no way for us to know exactly how much revenue they're really taking in. My big concern with this is the monitoring and compliance, especially if we are going to try and include the short-term rentals. Because if you look at page 30 of that handbook, it's almost impossible to get the information unless you go through a third party that has the ability, that has software, and we have to pay for that.
Are you talking about like VRBO or one of those?
So I'm sorry, for the Airbnbs? Or
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the third-party software would mostly be for all those short-term rentals, because if you read through this, it's literally impossible for like the county just to go through like some of the websites that would host some of these, or even go to Airbnb and try and figure out how many nights of lodging they had, how much they charged, because those websites don't allow that information to be disclosed. So there are these third-party software sites that can facilitate that. I don't know how much that would cost. The other thing is, depending on how much revenue that we would receive overall for a year, if you receive more than $250,000, then you're required to do random audits. So we would need to have someone to randomly go to a certain percentage of all the establishments, look at their books, make sure that they're reported correctly. I mean, this can be done, it's just, I think we would need to hire an additional person, which I was gonna ask you for during budget anyways. And it's a little complicated on the percentages and the portions of the percentages of the revenue that has to be used for specific things, because it's mostly for promoting tourism. Even things like the rifle range, Jan Waffle and the film festival, film liaison, there's, Chamber of Commerce, there's a lot of things that we can use that money to help with. And we can also use a portion of it to defray the cost of implementing the process. So it could go toward part of the salary for someone we hire, or maybe toward the cost of the third-party software, if we would need to go that route, which we probably would.
Now, if anything, I know that at one time it was considered short-term rental if it was under 30 days. If you went over 30 days, then it's,
Right.
just like rent.
But I
29.
believe that, the first 30 days, though, they would have to report that, and then after that, then they wouldn't be required to. And there's some different requirements on that, so.
It sounds like a major pain in the you-know-what.
So,
Could be. Airbnb does collect the occupancy or lodger's tax and provides it to the county. There's still an obligation on the owner of the Airbnb to also provide their report monthly. But Airbnb does collect it, but that's not the only thing. Like, there's VRBO and then there's dozens of others that are smaller, and those would be worth chasing them down and following them. I tried to do just like looking at the map on Airbnb to see how many there are in the county, because this would only apply to ones in the unincorporated part. So anything in Alamogordo or Cloudcroft or Tularosa, we wouldn't be eligible to get. But there are a decent number, especially in the mountains. Just on doing a little scan and with the assumption that they would collect $100 a night, and some are way more than that and some are less, but with an average of 100, they would, at 5%, that would be about $72,000 a year is what we're looking at. It could be more. It's not taking into account other properties that are on other sites and RV parks, but just to kind of get an idea, we're not going to get rich off of it, so.
Well, I'm wondering if it's even worth it as far as by the time you hire somebody else to help, facilitate it, you've got to pay for the software, and then you've got somebody to monitor it. And, to do an audit, that sounds like about zero fun.
There's quarterly reporting as well. So when we submit our quarterly financial report to DFA, you have to also submit, if you have the lodger's tax, you have to submit a lodger's tax report as well at that time. There's a lot as far as the monitoring, compliance, reporting issues. I don't really know the reason why the city chose to discontinue it. I don't know, RB, if you know that.
I think their reasoning was that OCDEC had gone away, and that's what they mainly used to fund OCDEC, and that's what I was told. So that's why they said they didn't feel like they could justify to still collect it.
That is another problem, that currently Alamogordo is not charging it, so we would be putting our businesses, so to speak, at a disadvantage of being taxed when hotels and the major competitors to any of these Airbnbs would not be subject to that, at least now. If Alamogordo had it implemented in Cloudcroft, then I would say definitely we should be even across the board. But,
So just make sure I'm understanding this right. We wouldn't be able to implement anything in Alamogordo city limits, Cloudcroft village limits, Tularosa village limits, strictly out of any
County area only, yeah.
and even if we paid somebody $20,000 a year to oversee it, we'd still have
You're not gonna pay
50.
anybody $20,000 a
Well, it's
year.
not a full-time job. If it's quarterly reports and we don't need to audit unless we hit the $250,000 and, I mean, it's a part-time job. We could even hire an accounting company to do it. But then $50,000 towards economic development and advertisement for Otero County, which I would assume funnel through the chamber to do all the promotions. That's, or at least the chamber definitely on the committee that we would have to form.
Even with, if it's in the neighborhood of the 75,000, like you said, RB, by the time you hire an auditor to come in, it could be a losing situation. I don't know what an auditor would cost to come in to do the audits, to go around to all these places,
Well, that would, so we have to form a committee. I don't know if the committee would be employees or if it would be members, interested members of the community.
I think it states that in the handbook. It needs to be 2 individuals from the lodging community, 2 other individuals that are business owners that might, also like maybe restaurant owners, things like that, from the tourist type industry, and then 1 citizen to represent the county, essentially, at least a 5-person board. I don't remember what page that was on, but
It's on
it's in here.
is
page
that a volunteer
12.
5 person or a paid 5
Oh,
person?
it's on
Volunteer.
page 12.
Yeah, and we would appoint it. It'd be like the grazing board. It'd be similar to that, but per the law, we're supposed to do that. And I'm trying to remember what all their responsibilities are.
Page 12 has some of that information.
But the Julianne is intending to ask you for a full-time number crunching person regardless.
As well as some other things, but actually I was going to ask you for that person regardless of whether or not this was passed. But that person would definitely be the one to help implement this.
It's like a collateral, one of their collateral duties.
So what if we just tentatively form a part-time committee right now to discuss all the operations and what it would take to implement before we make a decision, and see where we can get from the community members, from the B&B owners and all of that. I definitely don't want to hurt their business competing with a hotel, but I think that they offer their own, that is better than a hotel as well. So it's a little bit of a higher standard.
And there's a chance it could potentially benefit them if it increased tourism to the area, which would be the goal and the intent. But I do think it would be helpful to hear from people who would be affected and to dig deeper into the numbers to be able to see if we could get a better estimate of what this would bring in.
Should this be something that we should hold a public hearing to get public comment?
We would, if we moved forward to do it, we would have to do an ordinance, and that would require a public hearing. But if we want to stay in the exploratory stage, I don't know how we could ask for info.
Can we do both at the same time? I mean, if we decide that we're going to move forward. I mean, I don't want to write an ordinance and then the committee says, oh, I don't want to do that. But
I don't think, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a public hearing, just a special meeting where we can reach out to all of these owners of these establishments and say, we want to hear from you. What do you think about it? I don't think that hurts.
I wouldn't mind doing that, but I mean, for me right now, I'm kind of a no, because unless the city does it too. If the city did it, I'd be on board to do it, but I don't, I think it's kind of pointless without them. So, but as far as exploratory, I wouldn't mind just finding out what else is out there and if it's worth it, because.
And we could get the Center of Commerce to involved and to provide their input, and they could also gauge their members. And then the Cloudcroft Chamber of Commerce would be important. There's a whole bunch of Airbnbs in like Tiburon.
Yep. I would like public input. I would really want to hear what they have to say.
So do we need to vote on this?
You
or-
don't know, there's nothing to vote on your agenda. I'll just, if you give me direction, we'll work on organizing a meeting. I'd like to schedule it far enough out, we can really get out there and advertise it and make sure the public's aware of what we're gonna do.
Well,
If we
there's no
just
big
schedule
rush.
it, if we just
Yeah.
schedule it in 2 or 3 weeks, we're probably not gonna get a good turnout. But I can work with you on that by email.
Okay.
The only rush is that during the budget session, there's going to be a bill that proposes the change of allocations. So right now it's 5% city and 5% county is what's able to be collected. And the new bill that's proposed, I think, is going to change it to 7% city and 3% county. And I want to get in there on there when we're still 5%. So that is why I wanted to make sure we get this in January, just in case that passes.
Well, for an ordinance, you need to draft the ordinance, advertise 14 days in advance. I don't think we can get this done in 30 days.
Okay.
The session
I
will
really
be
don't think
over.
we can.
Could you send me the bill number?
I will.
Because depending on how it's worded, even if we had set it at 5%, it could force us to go down to 3. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'll do that.
Okay. All right. You ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Netherly?
Well, I hope everybody had good holidays and everything. You know, there was a big uproar about the Christmas parade, which turned out to be
Awesome.
awesome, exactly. There was, I don't know exactly how many, I heard there was over 50 participants,
There
but
was.
it was a bunch. I volunteered and walked the street with a little flashlight, which that whole thing was ridiculous. But anyway, got it done and it was great. So Commissioner Brilla and I both, we went out and did the bell ringing deal for the Salvation Army. That was the first time I've ever done that. That was a very unique experience. You would be surprised how many people they wanted to help and give. Maybe it was 25 cents, some of them give $20. It was a very good deal. Saw a lot of people, got a lot of thank yous. Went down to Chaparral on the MTC gives out every year. I'm sure everybody's aware of what they do, but they do it at Thanksgiving. They go to homes that the school district sets aside for families that are in need and stuff like that. Well, at Christmas time, they had 50 applicants that came in from the school. So Cheryl and I both went down with them and handed out Christmas presents. Everything from little kids to kids that had full beards and bigger than me that we were handing out. So I'm like, but it didn't matter. There was smiles on every one of them's faces, so it was really a neat deal. I want to thank Sylvia and Pamela for doing the Christmas party. It was fun. Kind of got roped into a deal I wasn't really ready for,
Sorry,
but
I missed that.
Oh, it was great. I still have the video.
but it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of good food. Thank you for that. We had yesterday the USDA meeting. That still, I noticed that, Amy, you participated or listened in on that. And it's making ground. There's still a lot of questions. I called after the meeting, got hold of Johnny Horton with John Tell. He's got a bunch of flyers and information. He said that he would go down with me to Chaparral. Representative Madrid is going to get a booth thing set up. He's wanting to have try to get the town to come, and so Sylvia called and asked the Colquitt group to get some of the flyers that we took down and handed out, pull some of those back so we could have some of those to hand out at this deal too. Madrid is supposed to be setting the date up on that, so it will be after, they finish up in Santa Fe. So it'll be an interesting deal too for all of us, because we all have constituents in with septic tanks and stuff. So we'll see how this is gonna really pan out. I got some other information on it that I will discuss later that was kind of interesting before we bite off too much of this. So, but anyway, that's what I've been up to. One other thing, I did go and tour I went to all the projects going except for the one down at Pecos. There's a lot of good work. I didn't realize that whole street in Bowles Acres that Suzie Ann was going to get completely re-asphalted and redone, but that's great. A lot of that, my areas on the cleanups, I had problems. I went to the gun range and drove through that. The La Luz deal on Alamo Street, I'm a little discouraged with that on the detour deal. That is an absolute joke. That is a one-lane road, and if you get a truck or anything, when I was on it, there was other traffic. I had to pull into somebody's driveway to be able to get through. So whoever came up with that detour, that was not good. So, but we're stuck with it. We'll get through it hopefully and go from there. But other than that, that's about all I got.
USDA meeting, so people know that that's the chaparral, the septic tank, and the wastewater plant and all that kind of stuff. I expressed in the beginning that I really have to be in agreement with all the constituents wanting everything to go over the Donna Ana side. I really wanted to see a plan B that because this is a pilot program and the funding is there for us to develop our own. If this is an opportunity for us to develop a wastewater department, I would like to make sure that we jump on it for the Otero County side. You know, we have other communities that could benefit from the development of this, and this might be our only free opportunity to get on that. So I wish that we seen more of the Otero County development. I am not comfortable with handing over any Otero County constituents to another government agency to pay their money to represent. They'll be at the will of that agency. I know we said we'd have an MOU and all that. I just think if we're going to do it, we need to do it on our own. So that's the side I'm still standing on there. I meant to ask Janet, there's a Day of Hope in Chaparral. You said about the awareness of the suicide watch lines and all that kind of stuff. It's been rescheduled. It was January 27th, and they're working on another date for that. So that'll be another awareness thing like what they had on New York Street here. I attended the fire department Christmas dinners and association meetings, and that's always a good time. I still go to the NACO Zoom emergency planning. It's their scope of discussions is way larger scale than Otero County, but I'm starting to kind of get my feet under me so I understand how we can implement that into Otero County, and then I'll start working with Matt on that and ring the bell. That is the 5th year that we've rang the bell, and again, froze our fannies off, but it's so good to see when the parents give the kids $1 to put in there to teach them to start to giving and contribute, and of course it's always good interaction when we do that. And I think that's about all I've done.
You said there was on the fire station deal in Chaparral. I forgot to write that date down.
It's in my phone. I'll give it to you when we go to the it's the monthly association meeting. It's going to be on Saturday, but it's in my phone. I'll give it to you before we go. Oh, and I'm going to do the PIT training. So I know that we had the 100% Otero talk about this. They're going to have a training if you want to help participate in the count of the homeless or just volunteer for them. And they changed the date, and but please, please, I can't encourage people enough to get involved in this so that we can identify the people in need. Jen Gruger, Gruger is how you spell her name. Her office number is 575-446-5764. I think she'd be a good resource to find out about that training. So the count starts the end of this month.
can you kind of keep us in the, okay.
Okay, that it?
You haven't done nothing, right?
A little bit. Okay, since our last meeting, I attended the Otero County Extension Office Advisory Committee meeting out at the fairgrounds. I attended the New Mexico Joint Stockmen's Convention up in Albuquerque, which was very good. Attended the New Mexico Arizona Coalition of Counties meeting in Albuquerque. I participated in the New Mexico Association of Counties Zoom meeting, participated in the New Mexico Arizona Coalition of Counties Zoom meeting, attended the Tularosa Basin Regional Dispatch Authority Board meeting, attended the swearing in of the 3 new school board members. I had a phone call with Jim Carlson with the Boundary Line Foundation regarding the BLM clear rule that I'm going to Washington for. Attended multiple meetings in preparation for the Otero County Days in Santa Fe, which is coming up next week. And what that is the Center of Commerce is having 2 days in Santa Fe next week, the 18th and 19th. On Thursday night, we're going to have a reception for the legislators. And then on Friday morning, we're going to have a breakfast for the legislators, and we're going to have our local legislators there to answer any questions. And we're emailing out a list of all the bills that are coming up to anybody that's going to be attending that, so that they can be prepared. If you have any questions for our legislators, you can ask it during that meeting. So I think that's going to be, I think it's going to be good. It's the first time Otero's done this in a long time. So we're trying to get our foot back in Santa Fe and make some connections up there. So I'm hoping we have a good turnout. We've got 60 people signed up so far, so I'm really excited about it. Let's see, I attended, along with RB yesterday, we were up at the Forest Service in Cloudcroft for 3.5 hours meeting about Spike and Kelly Goss's AOI for this year. I think that went pretty good. Tomorrow, along with Commissioner Barella and Matherly, we'll all be attending the legislative prayer breakfast at the Senior Citizen Center here in Alamogordo at 7 o'clock, so if anybody can come to that. I kind of wanted to give you guys a quick update. I got some good news on those NACs I've been telling you about with they're trying to do the company with the New York Stock Exchange to do these natural asset companies. We had 25 attorney generals from 25 different states across the United States, and they have sent a scathing letter about this to not support it. So we're making headway getting the word out there. So I've got a list of all of those attorney generals. Of course, New Mexico's wasn't on there, but the rest, there were a bunch of good ones on there. So I will be going to Washington in February. On February 13th, I should get to speak before the National Resource Committee about the BLM clear rule, and also some of the stuff that's coming up with the Forest Service about the old growth rules and all that. And then if we're successful with that, I'll go back in March and be in front of the House Oversight Committee and also give testimony for Otero County.
It's exciting.
I'm kind of excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've been up to. All right.
All right, Commissioners, of course, the holidays, things are a little slower than usual, but I do have a few updates for you. I have been communicating with Zach Cook since early this morning about legislative session starting. This morning, I provided him with all of our capital outlay projects, detailed information so he can help work on those. I am available to him if he has any questions, and I am going to try to meet with him next week when I'm in Santa Fe. I wanted to let you know I've been sending you emails about the Sacramento Mountain Senior Services. I received a call the day before yours day. Paula Merrill is in the hospital. Biddy Lane has reached out to me, so she's going to help me get those financials and that information I've requested. Elaine is a little panicked. I said, you have plenty of funding still at the county. We'll work through this the next few weeks. So at some point in the future, we'll probably come to you with a request. I wanted to let you know, me and Tom had a call yesterday with the New Mexico Department of Transportation. So they are going to make improvements to Highway 82 in Angelina. They're going to be putting some accelerating lanes and turn lanes to better access that. They're going to realign Angelina so it's a 90-degree with 82 to prevent some accidents. But
54.
54, sorry, 54.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I think you're talking about 54, I
Sorry,
think.
yeah, back up. Got ahead of myself. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're also putting some street lighting on 54 in their right-of-way, and they want the county to pay for their lights and the maintenance. And I said, well, I think you need to get me the cost of maintaining, I think it's 20 lights. We would be responsible for maintaining them. If there's an accident that's taken out, we'd be responsible for replacing it. We don't do utility maintenance, so we would have to hire a company to do that for us. So I asked them to please get me information on the cost and justifying why we should pay for something on a state highway. So that's probably gonna come at you in the next, possibly in February. And that's all I have.
One other thing, if I can ask you, can I get you to get a sign made to put, don't tape it on the door or the wall, but put it when you walk in to turn the cell phone off?
I've already thought of that when that happened today, yes. I think I'm gonna put it real big right up there on the wall.
The
to
offender's
silence
not
cell
listening.
phones.
Okay.
Mr. Arriba,
The offender's not listening. Can you repeat that?
I can start making an announcement too before the meeting.
John Paul,
True.
we're talking about you.
I don't know, I like that person. Made everybody laugh.
Okay, Harvey?
Commissioners, two things I'll let you report to you in December. I want to say like December 19th, something. It was a few weeks ago. Myself and Pablo, I think it was just us. I think Pam was on the call. We had a call with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we are working with them to develop a plan to basically look at all of the major areas of flooding in the entire county, and to do it comprehensively, and they will do an analysis of it, of basically where's the water coming from, where's the water going, and what are the options to address it and mitigate it. With that plan, it will enable us to later seek out specific funding for each of the locations. It's going to be a pretty big project because we're a big county, and so but they were open to it and willing to do it. And where we're at, I provided them information, the reports on those 3 dams in the mountains, and then the next thing I've got to get to them is a map of all of our hot spots, essentially where the flooding is. It's going to cover the areas mainly in the basin, because that's all the water's coming off the mountain. But there are areas of flooding in the mountains too. So I'll just highlight those on the maps. If at the subdivision, I'll provide them with the plat of the subdivision too, so they can start laying out how they're going to approach this.
That's great.
But,
Money Street, can you please put Money Street on your radar?
Where's that?
Money Street is off of Regatta Road, and the property right across is BLM, which is to allotment owner, and that water just goes right across their property and into that, and there is probably 10, 15 houses down that roadway where all that water is diverted to.
Okay.
And then a private property owner has to replace that dike 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
Well, there's a neighbor right there.
So I did address with them the issues of Highway 54 stuff that DOT did, and how that changed the number of water drainage mechanisms across there, and so there's all sorts of issues. So
Just put down Regatta.
yeah, okay. When you said Money Street, I thought you were referring to grants that we would hopefully get. I didn't know it was a real street.
Maybe
but
we can because of the name of the street.
But that does highlight some of the challenges, is that it's also, there's federal agencies involved, and Alamogordo's involved. So I had Alamogordo at the meeting too. Stephanie Hernandez was on it, and then Ronnie Mace, the new district ranger, was on there representing the Forest Service. And what another aspect of this that I want them to consider and look at for us is not just diverting the water so it doesn't damage property, but capturing it, because it's a tremendous amount of water coming off those mountains, and we kind of need it, but it's just going out to the flats on the missile range and the base, and becoming brackish, which requires a ton of money and energy and resources to make it usable again. So why don't we capture it at the mountain and use it?
And there's funding for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to take a lot of money, and I am also trying to get them to come up with a plan for a giant lake at the base of the mountains so we can, jet ski and stuff. But while we're doing it, we might as well
That's right.
see if that, and then we can celebrate on a party boat when it happens in 10 years.
I will say something, the aquifers that come off the mountain also fills, the other low, like my house. I mean, the aquifers run to that area. So the water that comes off the mountain helps to replenish the aquifers in the valley.
Yes, ma'am, it does. And so that is part of the consideration and finding ways to maximize that so that these wells that are drying up don't dry up and we continue to be able to use them. So I don't, hopefully they're the Corps of Engineers. I assume they got some nerds that are smart and can come up with something. That's my hope. It could be too much of a hope. I don't know. I met with some residents from Bent again as a follow-up to the last meeting to talk about the road issues, and we're working with Wilson to and our grant writer Pablo to file a Colonius grant for Bent that would address road infrastructure, chip sealing, guardrails, and flood stuff too with culverts and things like that. So they're working on that plan, and then I had them look at 3 other areas that we talked about. One was weed. The things that we need to do in weed really didn't fall under the Colonius parameters. And then Timbron for the guardrail project. Wilson's grant folks said since we'd already, phase 1 had for that project was under another grant, we should continue on with that grant rather than putting under Colonius. So the other area was Twin Forks, which I don't know why it's Colonius, but it is. So we have a road problem there and flooding, and it costs the county a lot of money and resources every time it rains to come fix the road that washes out. So they're going to look at a project to get Colonius money to address that issue.
Or B, I've seen where you're gathering data on accidents with elk.
Yes.
And then we were going to send a letter to the Department of Game and Fish for requesting help, or what are they going to do about it? Have you got anywhere on that, or are you still just in the information gathering stage?
Information gathering, and then trying to determine the best way. I mean, a letter, maybe, it's just kind of throwing it out there and it goes in their wastebasket possibly. I did send that data to Representative Vincent this morning. I spoke with him about it yesterday. He said he had a meeting with Game and Fish next week, and so I gave him that data so he can use that. The Forest Service is having conversations with them, which is good, a good step. But we need to do something. I'm still looking at the best way to go about it and getting data to throw at them. But yeah, I think we've gained some small ground on that. Not much, but there are people that had not previously acknowledged the elk even existed, or acknowledging that they exist, and that they're grazing, the amount of them and the grazing is problematic. So,
Well, in the ranching industry, that's a very big deal. It's a big issue up there. And it's going to affect more people up there before it's over with. That's why I'm just trying to, so it didn't get forgot.
Well, and truth be told, it's a environmental issue and a ecosystem issue and a endangered species issue. And if they don't start acknowledging that and addressing it, then their criticisms of cattle grazing are all disingenuous, because if we truly care about how much forage is utilized and, whether mice are wallowed on and crushed by animals that eat grass, then we'd be talking about elk and wild horses too.
You've been busy.
A little bit.
Do you have anything else? All right.
The 506,
Oh, yes.
I did check in on our claim and was told this morning that they are still working on getting their engineers to gather data for their assessment of it. The tank crossing, I checked to see if I had received any follow-up emails and realized that the email I thought I sent had not got sent. It was still sitting there as a draft. Someone must have came in when I was almost done with it, and then it got, I thought I sent it and I didn't. So I sent that this morning, so hopefully I hear back something soon.
I can see where that could happen.
Yeah, definitely. All right, anything else? No. All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.